How much time did it take, Kopal, if you
So I
remember?
think I think when we started doing events, um, so our plan, so the initial concept note that I wrote now for Taper Tale, that had events as a category, but
Okay,
our thought always was like so we launched Taper Tale, like the first 4 5 months was always like, okay, so now we have this, but there's barely like 50 60 people visiting the website, and
okay,
mostly like our friends. Who will ever buy tickets to our shows? That was always the thought. So we kept dealing that process of uh, doing our first show.
okay,
But what happened was that uh, I think one of us, I think Ali was the one who basically said, like, why are we waiting? Let's just give it a shot. Let's do a 20 people show.
okay.
We'll ask our friends only to come for the show, but let's do a show. And then it
Kopal,
so
uh,
happened that
Kopal, I'm just one thing. Which year did you guys start out?
2017.
2017. And when was this event, that the first thing that you hosted?
So this was July end, and we had started working on that like 2016 November. So yeah, so that was the so
Okay, so
around
within 6, 7 months, you had your first event. Yeah, please continue. I just wanted to have the timeline in mind. Yeah.
right.
Right.
So yeah, so we did our first event, and that event was also crazy because we had planned like a 20 seater event at like a cafe, and then I really wanted a comedian to host that event. One thing
Okay,
I was very clear on was that our stories are very serious. And when an
okay,
audience comes for a show, they need some sort of a breather between stories, and they need a laugh break, or they need a person who can, take them out of one story and put them in another story, right? So we need a good host. So I was looking for a comedian to host the event, and my roommate at that time was had gone on like one hinge date with Kunal Kamra. So she was like, I'll give you his contact. So I just called up Kunal, and this is
okay,
a story I love telling because Kunal has been such a pivotal part of this entire journey. And I
wow,
called up
okay,
Kunal and I was like, hey, we've just launched this storytelling platform. And by the way, storytelling at that time wasn't a buzzword. Nobody was talking about storytelling as an art form. It wasn't a thing
exactly.
in the digital medium, right? So I was like, hey, we've launched a storytelling platform and we're doing this event. Will you come host it? And without a second thought, he was like, yeah, I'll come host it. But my only thing is, you do it at this venue. And that venue was Habitat basically. So I reached out to
Okay, this is
Habitat, and
Delhi.
then because
This is Delhi,
sorry, this
Bombay.
was Bombay. This is
Okay,
Bombay.
Bombay. Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
so we started out in Bombay, and yeah, and then we did the event at Habitat, and because हम Habitat पे कर रहे थे, we were like, this is the great backdrop, and let's just shoot the videos as well, and we'll see what we want to do with them.
right,
And we did an event. We thanks to our friends who spread the word, and Kunal Kamra being the host, we managed to sell like 50 tickets, and yeah, and the show was great, and I think that was the first time when I felt that this is something, if it's taken seriously, done consistently, and done nicely and curated well, it
right.
can really grow to become big. I think that was the first time that I got that feeling because the audience I saw left with such a beautiful reaction, and I was like, I can replicate this, right? So I think it was that moment for me when I was like, okay, now I think I know how to build this community, and I think I can make it happen types.
Right. And I'm assuming it's after this event that you started putting things out on YouTube as well.
Yeah, so this is the event where we started putting out things, and yeah, and YouTube is the thing that actually worked for us. The video medium really worked for us. And the other thing that was happening parallelly, so basically one was at that time Geo had suddenly come in the picture. So
Okay.
suddenly access to internet, YouTube had also really spread. So that was one thing that was happening in terms of numbers that were growing. The other thing that was also parallelly happening that I was unaware of, but it was happening, was the poetry movement. Right, there were certain platforms that had started that had started coming up with artists doing poetry. So
Okay.
what started happening was that because the art form looked similar, a
Right.
lot of comedians and poets also started telling stories.
Okay.
So that is how it actually started growing because a lot of good writers who, of course, like comedians, poets, they're good writers. So when they started crafting good stories and coming and performing on the platform, I think that really worked for us eventually.
Okay. Okay. So I think that culture was anyways brewing, and you guys kind of were at the right place and at the right point of time, I'm assuming. Right. And of
Right. So
course, you did.
comedy was already at a good place, but I think poetry was just about starting too. But it was almost like a parallel thing that was happening. but we
Right.
both like fed off each other in a very nice way.
All right, all right. So what next, Gopal? So you had this first event. Now you have this period where you're still working hard to source and to distribute those stories. But how did things start changing after this event? What's the next? What was the next phase for you guys?
So I think the next thing was, one thing that I got clarity was that partnerships here is very important, whether it's partnerships with good venues, whether
Okay,
it's partnerships with good vendors to produce stuff, whether it is partnership with good people to host events with. So I think that was the next thing that I started looking out for. Because I mean, making money right now was like whatever money we make out ticketing was mostly like, these were mostly loss making shows, by the way, initially, because we would be spending on production also, and then we really streamlined production. I was like very this thing that I don't want to splurge money. I want to cost cut and still find the best way to, because I knew that this is a long term game. And by the
okay,
way, I got fired from my job also. So this was I had to do this like nearly full time, almost immediately after starting. So, so I was also in a place where I have to make money fast because I was doing part time jobs to pay my bills. But I also knew that I want to sustain.
right, right. We'll do the firing story sometime later, but I want to continue with this.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
there's so much going on in 2017. It was a crazy year, but yeah. Uh, so we basically. Sorry, what was your question? I totally lost the.
So that
You were asking me
yes,
what
yes,
next.
huh, focusing
Huh,
on the
so
production.
right. So productions again. So I was like, I want to streamline production. So I'm look, people used to be surprised that we used to do production in like 2,000 rupees at that time. But we managed to get good people, good college students to shoot for us, and we were ensuring that we are trying to break even in every event, or even making losses. We're making minimal losses because. None of us had the kind of money to just be like chalo, chalo 10 lakh laga dete hain tape tail pe. We did not have that kind of money only, so we were being very judicious with whatever we are making. Let's put it back.
Right.
And Yeah, so that is how it started. And then collaborations were the big one. Like, so I was doing one of my part-time internships with Akkar Bakkar, which was a very
Okay.
big writing platform at that time. Um, so I was editing for them part time. So I was pretty close to the founder. So then we did an event together. So they had a massive reach, and we did our first 2 3 events together. So I think, and then Akkar Bakkar was followed by another partnership, and similarly, just tapping into the right venues. Like, we did our first couple of events at Antisocial, which was like
Okay.
a proper venue. So what was happening is, even if people didn't know us, people knew Antisocial. And
Okay.
when they came, so they would get to know about us through Antisocial ka event page, right? And then they would come for the events and they would show, but they would love the event, and then we would then they would come for the next one as well. So I think that is how the initial building of community happened, where people didn't know us, but people knew the people we were collaborating with and the venues we were doing events with. And that's how the word of mouth would spread. And initially, we were doing crazy things. We would like go to subways and McDonald's and cafes and hang our posters. हम ऑटोज वालों को देते थे अपने posters कि आपके ऑटो में कोई भी बैठे हो तो ये बता देना कि ये event हो रहा है. So we did crazy things to spread the word back then, which did not require us to spend any money. So yeah, we were going to colleges and sticking posters and getting in touch with college ambassadors and doing all of those things to make it happen. But I think it finally kick off when our videos started going viral. And then there was then suddenly, from getting no emails to getting 100 emails a day, that journey was just insane. And it happened like, organically and slowly, but it happened. And yeah.
What was this timeline, Kopal? Which year was that? This pivotal moment where hundreds of emails are coming in. Do you remember by any chance?
So I think 2017 end only. So our what happened was that हमने हमारे दूसरे event का video, we
Okay.
did a story called "Proud to be Born in India," and we had
Okay.
released it around 15th August. And it was a story by Mohammad Sadriwala. And so हमारे videos को बिल्कुल views नहीं आ रहे थे. And this was the first story. So basically अलू मेरा होता था, हम लोग हर Saturday 11 बजे story release करने का plan बनाया था, जो हम आज तक follow कर रहे हैं. 5 years in, every Saturday 11 a.m. a story goes out.
Wow.
uh,
Consistent.
so yeah, so I think consistency has been our biggest thing. So yeah, we had from the first event decided 11 a.m. Saturday till date we're doing it. So again, 11 a.m. Saturday on 15th August, the story had gone out, 2017. And so हम लोग हर दिन ऐसे सैटरडे को स्टोरी डालते थे, फिर संडे को उठते थे एंड वी लाइक कितने व्यूज आए, एंड वी लाइक अच्छा ओ लोग 400 व्यूज आ गए, 450 व्यूज आ गए. सो दैट वाज ऑलवेज अ थिंग. एंड देन वन डे वी वेक अप to this story doing 15,000 views on Sunday
Okay.
morning. And we were
Okay.
like, whoa, thousands, what is happening? And then we realized, we checked our analytics and we realized the story is going viral in UAE.
Okay.
Yeah, and so some channels and people and WhatsApp groups picked up the story in UAE, which was like so random. And then we were like, okay, this is damn exciting. And then Facebook pages picked it up and started. So हमारी YouTube video को अभी भी views नहीं आ रहे थे. YouTube videos were still as like 20,000, 25,000, but the story was literally circulating within our WhatsApp groups. Like one of my dad's friends sent the story to my father, and he was
Okay.
like, ये तो टेपडिल का logo है. And that time my family was also just like, they didn't understand exactly what I was doing, or they were just like, what is this? So even they were just like, ये क्या हो रहा है?
Right.
But हाँ, and then um, I think because Facebook हर जगह viral हुए, and then people kept looking for that story everywhere, it really hit off on YouTube. And I think when that happened, then obviously, one video going viral, in the description maybe had written, if you want to send your story, um, email us over here, WhatsApp us over here. So उस वक्त obviously there are numbers, but it does not really replicate to people buying tickets or people actually sending stories. But this was a process. There was one video after the other, and then being consistent, and YouTube recommending it because one video has gone viral. So I think
Right.
by the end of 2017 is when I can say that we were getting. I was comfortable from the POV of curating my 10 storytellers from the event for the event. उतना कंफर्ट
Right.
लेवल आ गया था. But
Okay.
I think proper to, I think 2018 was, I think, our year when I can say that we were doing really well on YouTube in terms of numbers. Suddenly we were hitting a lot of millions, and
Okay.
we were getting a lot of stories also. So yeah.